All right. Okay, as an introduction, okay, here it says that measurement technique have been of immense importance ever since the start of human civilization. I agree with this statement, and I believe Omer also agree. Is give example of ruler, it's very traditional measurement techniques. When measurements were first needed to regulate the transfer goods in barter trade in order to ensure that exchange were fair.
I agree, doctor.
do you do you know what is barter trade?
Yes, I know that.
How it's performed? You know,
Mm,
when we try to buy gold with
mm.
fish, right?
Yes, switch
you,
things
Yes,
in other,
doctor.
so we
you
can
give
get that other thing.
you give someone fish and you will get gold. Is it a fair one? No,
I
maybe
think no.
you will give that person uh, maybe
Same
uh,
value of the
yeah,
things.
the trade should be done in a fairly manner. But I think for a measurement system, maybe if you try to measure people in terms of their height, in terms of their weight, we have a fair instrument. I mean, uh, to know what is the weight and also what is the height of human or any items that we try to measure. Okay, next point. The massive growth in application of computer to industrial process control and monitoring tasks has greatly expanded the requirement for instrument to measure, record, and control process variable. Of course, with computers, we can do a lot of things. We can control our measurement system, and we can control our instrument. We can control in terms of monitoring as well. So the growth of the technology in terms of computer basically has benefited in terms of measurement techniques and also instrument technology. And as modern production technique dictate working to ever tighter accuracy limit, and as economic forces to reduce production costs become more severe, so the requirement for instrument to be both accurate and inexpensive become ever harder to satisfy. Um, I also agree with this statement. It's difficult to satisfy people as well as satisfy the requirement required by any, for example, in this case, is measurement. So there's a trade between cost and also accuracy and also technology as well. So you need to balance, you need to compromise all um, requirement in order to get what you need in your measurement as well as for in your instrument. So you need to have something which is accurate and at the same time less expensive, so that you can have a better in terms of performance as well as sustainability, uh, resources sustainability. Okay, measurement unit system. Uh, Last time, if you look at I think not last time. Nowadays also, this imperial system been used widely, and I believe in US they like to use yard, feet as well as inches, um, and I think in UK as well. Um, for metric system, we know that we have meter, centimeter, millimeter, and something or a measurement which is related to the base factor of 10. For example, if you would like to have a measurement of 1 kilometer, means that one to the power of 10 to the power of 3 meter, right? So in metric system, we usually use a factor of 10, like kilo, centi, milli, something like that. And for standard unit SI, since we have two types of unit system, one is imperial and one is metric. So we also have a standard unit which is known as SI system. This system was created to avoid confusing expressing the derived units. Normally, in our course, we try to use standard unit or standard system. For example, but if you try to measure weight, maybe we're not going to use pound, we will try to use kilogram or grams in our SI unit system. You need to go through back this definition later on based on the materials that I will provide it later. Right, this is definition of standard unit. If you look at length, we have meter, and mass, kilogram, time, second, temperature, degree, current, ampere, luminous intensity, we have candela, matter, we have mole. So this is the definition of it. So later on, maybe you should read all this and try to understand or try to remember what does it mean by kilogram, or what is mean by length, meter. Okay, also a fundamental unit, SI unit, we have quantities, standards, as well as symbols. For the supplementary fundamental unit, we also have plane angle with the unit of radian, and also solid angle, steer radian. And normally the symbol should be like this, rad or SR. These are the derived units of SI. We have area, volume, velocity, so on, until molar energy. You don't need to remember all this, but you need to know that this, for example, list derived units of derived SI unit. Example of derived SI unit. So you should know that area, volume, velocity, acceleration is considered as a derived SI unit. All right, elements of measuring system. Basically, for measuring system, we have 4 basic elements. The first one is the sensing element. Second one is the data conditioning system. The third one is data transmission, and the final is data presentation elements. So these 4 these 4 elements is connected in series in order for us to get a correct value of our measurement, or in order for us to measure something measure quantities. Okay, what does it mean by sensing element? Sensing element, sometimes called as transducer. Here we have our sensor, where example of sensors like thermocouple, strain gauge. What else? What else? Sensors, heat sensor, something like that, right? Heat sensor is also considered as thermocouple. Actually, thermocouple very much covers all the sensors element. And later on, you know that these sensors, for example, we have thermocouple, where we try to sense heat of the heat environment, heating in the environment. We need to do some signal conditioning, meaning that we need to process the signal collected from our sensor. So to process the signal or the data from our sensor, we should have another block which is known as signal conditioning block. In signal conditioning block, sometimes we have a variable conversion element. For here, we sometimes for this element, the example of this element is, for example, we have bridge circuit, we have amplifier, we have filter, we have ADC, analog to digital converter. Maybe digital to normally for thermocouple we have an analog signal. We try to convert it into digital signal. So that's why here I put it as ADC. This signal conditioning element is very important in our measurement system because we know that the raw data collected from our sensor cannot be measured directly, cannot give us the measurement directly. So we need to do some conditioning, some processing in terms of the data collected from the sensor. So maybe we should put some amplifier. Maybe we should increase the signal level for us to collect the data from our sensor. And of course, to send the data from the sensor into our display set or to our monitor, we do need transmission element. Transmission, the easiest one is by using copper wire lah. Copper wire is the standard to transmit our signal data in order for us to get it displayed in our presentation element. So copper wire, maybe example of the latest technology of fiber optics, maybe to make the signal more faster compared to traditional method. So that is the third element in measuring system. And finally, we should have a data presentation element for us to know what is the reading of, for example, temperature, for example, voltage level of our measurement. All right. And how do we choose appropriate measuring instrument? Okay. The first one we need to consider is the specification. You need to have a look at, for example, you have a multimeter. You need to have a look at the specification of that multimeter. And if you need an accurate performance of your measurement, maybe analog multimeter, or maybe yeah, I would say analog multimeter is not suitable. So instrument specification is very important in order for you to choose appropriate instrument for the measurement. So now here we have instrument specification. For example, like its accuracy, resolution, sensitivity, and also dynamic performance. Number two is the environmental condition. So you need to know where should I use my instrument. For example, if you try to use your instrument inside very high temperature environment, maybe inside the sea, so you need some protection. So you need to identify the environment associated to the equipment, I mean in terms of your measurement. The first, instrument protection requirement. If you try to measure something inside the sea, maybe you need which is something which is water resistant element, and also protection reduce dynamic performance. For example, stealth protection thermocouple and resistant thermometers reduce the speed of response. So for example, if you try to use a sensor, let's say example plane, aeroplane, you try to put sensor at aeroplane wing. So you need to know what is the dynamic environment condition, and also the temperature outside. Maybe the pressure as well, so that the sensor that you use to measure whatever measurement that you want at that condition is suitable to be used to measure that condition. And most important thing, choose appropriate instrument is the cost. So you need to, what is the cost of this element? And we know that, of course, for high performance instruments will cost us, is very expensive. So you need to balance between the usage and also your requirement. So you don't need high accuracy performance if you try to measure just a voltage in your circuit. So maybe basic multimeter is enough. You don't need to use oscilloscope and something like that. Maybe in some case, in some cases, maybe it's required for you to use oscilloscope. But if you try to just trying to measure a voltage level, I believe normal multimeter is quite is enough to do that. Not only the cost of purchasing that element, also the cost of maintenance should be considered. For example, if you purchase a very high tech and high spec instrument to do some work or to do some measurement, make sure you also think about what happens if this thing is malfunction or something wrong with the the equipment itself. You need to know whether it is the maintenance cost is manageable or not. If not, I think it's not suitable lah for you to choose that instrument in your project in or in whatever you do for your measurement. Okay, here I list down the summary of choosing appropriate measurement measuring instrument. Here it says that instrument choice is a compromise among performance characteristic, ruggedness and durability, maintenance requirement, and also purchase cost. So this sum up what's explained in the 3 points that I discussed earlier. Maybe this is my last slide. Measurement system application. This is example of application. For example, we have physical quantities measurement. So for physical quantity measurement, example is like length, volume, mass related to SI unit. For monitoring, maybe we're going to have barometer. For automatic feedback control, maybe we have a temperature control system. This is something which is application, some of example measurement system application. But I believe in this class, the thing that you need to take note is this slide. How do we choose appropriate measurement instrument, as well as this slide. If you remember just now, I explained in details about these two slides. So please make sure you know the content of this slide, and maybe you can also do some background reading on that matter. Right. I believe that's for week number 1. It's very my slide. I know it's very brief, but I really encourage you guys to do some extra reading based on the textbook that I mentioned in my slide just now, as well as if you have a look at e-learning material that I will post it later on. Maybe that should be some starting point lah, in terms of getting the information of today's lecture. All right. Any questions so far?
No, doctor. Thank you. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih, Omar. Well, you can speak Malay.
Yes, doctor.
Okay. Anyway, as usual, uh, I tried to get a screenshot of this session. Karen Naim, what happened to your 1023? Okay, please turn on your camera, and we try to get a snapshot of this session, and this is something considered as evidence of our online teaching and learning. And before I forgot, welcome to all of you. For those who have not I'm not mentioning their names. Maybe you are this is the first time you meet me. For the one that I mentioned earlier, I've met them in the first semester, so it's okay. We try to know each other. We have one semester to get to know each other. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you so much for your attention. And if you look at, sorry, not look at lah. Based on what I've mentioned earlier, this course is considered as a reading course. Okay, so you need to read a lot, and the calculation is not that hard. And one more thing about our e-learning, you need to frequently get into our e-learning portal to get information. And if you have any question regarding this course, please WhatsApp in the group so that I try to solve lah whatever I could to solve your problem. And for next Thursday, I think our class will be cancelled because of I have a meeting at 2:30. But I will give you homework, and I will post the homework in e-learning, and you need to finish the homework throughout the weekend. Maybe we have a look back at our the solution. Maybe discuss about the homework in our Monday session next week. Okay, about the homework, I will let you know in WhatsApp group, and I think you need to get into e-learning in order for you to get the materials for the homework. Okay, before we end our session, I remind you again, please fill out the attendance form. According to my I have 24 responses, meaning that everyone's already fill out the form. All right, thank you so much for your attention. We will meet again maybe next week, 11 until 1 p.m. Hope you guys have a good session throughout the week. Assalamualaikum. Goodbye.
All right.
Waalaikumsalam,
Thank you,
doctor. Have a good day.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you, doctor.
Bye.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you, doctor.
Arigato.